Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Corey and it is time for another WIP Wednesday. I think it's episode 18. Every time I say I don't know what number we're on, and it's no joke, I forget. But today I am working on a page that wasn't in my May plans, and that's because I'm actually almost all the way through my May planned pages, so I started adding some in. I am working on this beautiful gal right now. She is part of my May pages, but if you remember, I'm doing the hair series, so I colored her skin off camera this time, and I'll be doing her hair on camera for the hair series. And the only thing I have left from my May planned pages is this gal, but I want to finish the other portrait. And I have so many days left in May, so I thought I was being overly ambitious, but apparently not ambitious enough. So I'm working in, let me see if I can not hit the camera with it, Johanna Basford's Magical Jungle. I have 3 copies of this book. I bought it a long time ago when it first came out. It's got a bunch of noobish pictures, as I like to call them. And then I bought it again, and I also got it as a gift. And I never get upset when people buy me multiples because I love multiple copies. I can go back and do, for example, I colored this ages ago in pencil using like Marco Raffines, and now I'm using Inktense. All these lovely Inktense. If you don't know, by the way, if you have the 72 set and it comes in the tin, don't buy a pencil case, because when you pop the lid off, just take the first case, stick it in the lid, and then you have both pencil sets or like lids right here, and it is 10 times faster than flipping through any pencil case. Just putting that out there. And then it's easier to store. It takes up way less space than a case. Or if you want to put them in a case, whatever. But that's just my tip. Okay, so today I am a little rushed, excited, feeling crazy. I bought a new car today. It was not necessarily an impulse. I've been looking for a long time, but I was on the fence about buying a new one because we just bought a new house. And I was like, do I really want to add a car payment in there? And I'm very picky with cars. I will only buy one owner lease return vehicles. And that's because I have a lot of reasons that I'll go into another day. But I finally found one that was a one owner lease return, the color I wanted, all the features I wanted. So I went and bought it. I had to take the kids with me. That was quite the interesting adventure. But my kids are super well behaved. I don't know what I did in my parenting, but I have trained them to just, be good in these situations. So it wasn't bad. Just drove it and I bought it. So yeah, I will share pictures. They are delivering it tomorrow. They have to do a couple things, so they're gonna bring it all the way up here. Like, the dealer is an hour away. They're gonna bring it up here, take my minivan away. Oh, it was just time. I was over the minivan phase. I've done my minivan duty, and now it's time to move on and get back into SUVs. So yes, I bought a new Yukon Denali. I have always wanted one. I've dreamt about them, and I finally bought one. So if I'm extra giddy, it's just because I finally bought my dream car. I know some people are like, I want a Porsche, and my dream car is a big gas-guzzling SUV, but oh well. So I do apologize for the lighting. You're gonna catch the shadows this way. I am not recording in the morning like I normally do because I was buying a car. So anyway, if the shadow gets in the way, hopefully it's not too bad. I will be coloring with these Inktense pencils while I chat about something, and this will take up probably the whole WIP Wednesday episode. So last week, one of my subscribers named Emily had asked how I work from home. And I thought, this is a good question. I've kind of like touched on what I do from home in the past, but I thought maybe it would be good if I did more of an in-depth kind of chat about it. Not just what I do, but maybe help some of you, because I have actually worked from home independently, working for myself, not other people, for, let's see, 12 and a half years now. Yeah, 12 and a half years I've been self-employed. So I wanted to kind of go over that a little bit, and maybe I can answer further questions in the next episode. So definitely leave a comment below asking any follow-ups, because I may have to cover this in 2 episodes anyway. So right now, I own my own business. I am a freelancer or independent contractor. We became more well-known thanks to COVID. We were referred to as the gig economy because that's what we are. But basically I don't work for anyone. I am contracted out, can quit anytime I want. Nobody owns me, sort of thing. Sounds like a dream, I know, but it comes with a lot of pain in the butt things as well. So we'll get into that in a minute. But right now, I own my own copywriting business. And if you're unfamiliar with what copywriting is, it's content online. So like anytime you visit a website, you are looking at like blogs, web pages, all that stuff. I write those things and I work on those. And I have a few clients. My biggest client, I'm actually managing all of their team. I am still an independent contractor for them, but they had hired me to do their project management and basically manage their team of writers. And what's funny about it is I used to be a writer for them as one of their first freelance writers they had ever hired for her company when she first started it out years ago. Gosh, 7 years, 8 years. It's been a while. So I've been around with them for a while, and so when she had that opening, it was just the perfect fit. And I was kind of getting burned out on the whole freelance writing myself. I think I've touched on this before, but I love to write. I am a writer. I guess I just have an artistic brain, because any of my, jobs or companies I've started have a artistic background, whether it's writing, cake decorating, YouTube with coloring. So it's just kind of in my blood, I guess. But I kind of got burned out on the writing side of things. So it was cool to work on the back side of it and kind of manage the writers. I'm not saying it's not stressful. It's stressful, but it's fun. And that has been kind of taking up a lot of my time as of late, so I don't take on clients much anymore. Could if I wanted to. I just am super busy with what I got right now. So that's what I do right now. I am contracted out as basically a project manager. But again, I was a freelance writer for years before that. I'm just picking out a green real quick. Or should I do the tree? Maybe I'll do the tree. Get that out of the way. Let's see, I did willow for these pages. Let's do oak. Okay. So the reason I think this is going to be a long one is I kind of want to give you guys some background information on how I started working from home in general, and maybe some tips, ideas, and also some what not to do's if I can help anyone avoid any pitfalls of working for yourself. So, like I said, I have been self-employed for over 12 years now. And it all began when my son was 6 months old. I was a single mother, and I was working a job as it's practically just data entry, to be honest. There's fancier ways to put it, but I worked in a medical lab. They had awesome hours, flexible, was great when I was single, even great when I had a kid. They paid excellent, amazing insurance benefits. But with my son, it was rough because daycare is not cheap, and when you're a single mom, you almost feel like most of your paycheck goes to daycare, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. If you have more than one kid, I can't even imagine what that would be. I just had one at the time. So yeah, I was a single mom with like a 6-month-old baby. I had gone through culinary school to be a pastry chef. The issue was pastry chef hours just didn't work in real life. I mean, you got to start at 4 a.m. and what daycare am I going to find for that? Which means I would be paying for a nanny or something, like that. And it was just too much to handle, but I really loved pastry work. And so the restaurant route was out of the question. But I live in Utah, wedding central. Like, seriously, you want to open any sort of wedding-based business, move to Utah. There's weddings galore. But, I had originally gone to culinary school because I love decorating cakes. So I decided to take the plunge and quit my full-time job that had benefits. I mean, I had a retirement account. I had amazing insurance. Like I said, I had hours. I had guaranteed income. It took a lot of thought because I was a single mom with a baby. And but I did it. I decided after a lot of thought I was going to take the risk, quit that job, and try to open a cake decorating business. And what I was going to do was primarily wedding cakes, but I would still do specialty birthday type cakes. Even though the wedding industry out here is so booming, or at least it was back then, that I knew I would have plenty of business with wedding cakes. So what I did, sorry, I had to take a quick break. I was kind of interrupted. So I'm trying to remember where I left off. But yeah, so I decided to take the plunge and quit that. I didn't ease into it. I gave my 2-week notice and straight up just quit and instantly started my cake business. I started a website. I had done cakes like on the side here and there for friends and family while I had already worked at my job. But then I, got a business license, got my permits to make cakes out of my house, made it all legit. I didn't have to get a food handler's permit. I already had one from my culinary school and all that. And I just started advertising myself on Facebook. I put myself back then in the yellow pages. Who uses that now, right? I used Google. I basically was just putting myself on every platform known to man. Worked on my website, created a blog. Back then, blogs were really big for getting business. And because I've always had a natural writing ability, writing my own blogs and website content really wasn't too bad. So I did all that and I got a client, and then I got more clients just from referrals because I would leave business cards, after I dropped off a wedding cake. And then I ended up starting to go to expos, like wedding expos. They're really big out here. I don't know if they are in other states, but out here, oh my gosh. You do have to pay a lot of money to go though. I wanted a corner booth because that's the most exposure. I think the first one I went to, I spent like $1,200 on that booth. But I also got 8 clients off of that, and you're probably thinking, well, that's not a lot. It covered the cost of the booth and then some. I like profited off of it. So then I started entering cake competitions as well because, you know, that helps get exposure too. I am going to make sure in this corner here to post a picture of me in my younger years at a wedding, or it was a bridal cake competition here in Utah. I won, and I'm standing next to my topsy-turvy cake, and it was a lot of fun. And I started doing more expos after that, showcasing that cake. I made a dummy cake, obviously, for the expos because I'm not going to remake that thing. But it had hand-piped vines, which back then were in. I don't know what's in anymore now. I don't follow the trends. I think naked cakes are actually what's cool now, which drive me bonkers. So yeah, I'll share a picture of that, but I had won that competition and that got me a lot of attention. And so I kept saving up money to do more expos, and I remade that cake as a dummy cake. And then that actually got me a ton of business. It attracted a lot of people to my booth because at the time, again, this was 12 years ago, there was only 3 of us in Utah that would offer these types of cakes. They're not easy to make. You aren't just carving a cake diagonally. You're literally taking a slab of cake and putting it on its side. It requires a lot more than baking knowledge. I had to build my own internal structures, power tools and all, you know, with piping, and then thread my cake on there and hope that my fondant wouldn't crack. You had to bake it just right. I mean, the wrong ratio, temperature, anything could screw those things up. They are not fun to make. Talk about your high stress situation. But yeah, I made dummy ones for the expos, which are basically just styrofoam. And then that got me a lot of attention, so I started getting more business from that. And I stuck with it. I kept going for about 3 or 4 years, I want to say. And I got to a point where I started to notice I was burning out. And that's just because Utah brides. There's no other way to put it. Let me pick a green and then I'll go into that more. Let's do vivid green, 1330. Oh, where are you? Okay. Okay, so yeah, so my downfall of my business. It's not a downfall. It didn't fail. I just turned it off or quit. The problem with brides back then were all of them were incredibly young and naive. So that was one problem. Cake decorating was big back then. You know, Cake Boss was a thing. So he was not helping the situation. Cake competitions, but everyone out here wanted these amazing, elaborate wedding cakes, including my topsy-turvy one, at Walmart prices. And I'd have to, you know, sit there and explain, like, guys, this is more than just paying for the cost of supplies. You're paying for my time and my artistic ability. Again, only 3 of us in Utah could make this cake at the time, or this style of cake. And not to mention, I just really didn't like making those things. But they were all very young, and all very Bridezilla. Like, have you ever seen that Bridezilla show? I don't even know if it's still around. But there are legit Bridezillas, and most of the time it was because it was just these very young girls You know, grew up with kind of unrealistic expectations of life. I pictured their princess wedding, and they were all like 18 to 20. I rarely had a bride or groom over 25, and the ones I did were chill. Like, they were the coolest clients ever. It was the young ones that were, oh, just so stressful. But yeah, they were never happy with anything. You know, I had a rule. I refused to copy another cake artist's work. I would customize it to your wedding, but I'm not copying it. Like, I have to put my own spin on it. And that's just kind of with anything. I didn't feel comfortable copying someone's cake, as I would hope no one would copy mine. It's my art. Don't go copying it. And then take credit for it. Like, because the cake decorating and design, it's a lot of work, and it is an art form. Respect the art, people. So yeah, it was just so much to deal with, and I was spending hours and hours. Because anyone unfamiliar with wedding cakes, you don't make a wedding cake in a day. On average, a simple wedding cake takes anywhere from 2 to 4 days. A complicated, heavily decorated wedding cake can take up to 5 days to make. So it's really important to understand that these things aren't things like you're whipping up quickly. And I would work from like 6 in the morning till, 3 or 4 in the morning, take a nap and get back to it. I was constantly doing this all by myself out of my apartment. I ended up hiring some help eventually because I was getting slammed. And I had little trainees, kind of. They would help me with the baking, but they couldn't do any of the decorating. I was training them on that, but I did most of that. But I just got burned out on the attitudes, the outrageous expectations. It was no longer fun. Like, I actually one day woke up and was just like, I actually loathed decorating cakes, and it was really depressing because I loved baking. Baking was my hobby. I went to culinary school because I was so passionate about it. I loved to decorate cakes. It was so fun. The art side was fun. I mean, I used to make gum paste flowers, edible roses, edible tulips. I would spend hours creating these things. Again, I'll try to leave a video in the corner, not a video, picture in the corner of maybe one of my gum paste flowers for you guys. But yeah, I loved it. I loved spending hours, even though it took hours out of my life, creating those little edible flowers that no one actually ate. You could have. But I loved all of it. I hired a photographer to take pictures of my cakes. But the people, it was driving me bonkers. And so about a year before I had quit, I had met my husband at the time, and he could tell I was getting really miserable. 1560. Sorry, grabbing a color. Maybe. So he could tell I was becoming really miserable with cake decorating. And so I decided I was just going to quit. And it was really depressing because, there's that saying, you should turn what you love to do into a job and it won't feel like work. That's not true. And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, rethink that, okay? If your hobby relaxes you, do you want that to become what you do 9 to 5, or in my case, 22 hours a day, and it become the stressor of your life? I highly disagree that doing what you love as a job will not feel like work, because it made me hate cake decorating. To this day, I don't make cakes anymore. Like, that's how much it made me not like it. I mean, my kids get purchased ice cream cakes from Cold Stone because I hate doing it. Like, I I've had friends and family be like, can you just make an exception and do our wedding cake? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I literally hate it. I do have all my stuff. I kept it. I spent thousands on my supplies. I can't just throw them away, but I just can't bring myself to do it. And that is depressing if you think about it. It's like it was my hobby, it was my passion. I went to school for it because it was going to be my life, and it all went to waste pretty much. So yeah, I did quit, but I had to find another job. I mean, I at the time my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, we were living together, and he was so sweet. He's like, I'll support you while you look for a job. But that single mother independence in me was like, no, no man is supporting me. I will, get my crap together and I'll find a job. Let's see, felt green, 1530. So I was, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Did I want to go back to work and work for a company? Did I want to stay self-employed? And I decided I wanted to stay self-employed. So I started looking for at-home work, and oh my gosh, there are so many scams out there. And so by this time, this was about 8 years ago, maybe. So I had found online content writing. And back then, companies paid you like crap. I'm serious. You'd get paid like 50 cents for a 500 word piece or something like that. But what I did was I made a profile on one of the leading online ones. It used to be called Odesk. Now it is called Upwork. But that's where I made my profile. And I just picked up those cheap, no-paying jobs. But the reason I did that was I did it so that I could build up my reputation. If you have never worked online, you don't have a professional portfolio, it's going to be really hard for you to land a high-paying job. Now, granted, they pay more these days. 8 years ago, they didn't, because that was before the big Google changes. Once the Google changes hit, they started paying content writers a lot more. But I don't want to get into the industry jargon that'll make you go to sleep. You can just Google, Google Panda and all those updates, and you'll see what happened. But so I took those crappy jobs. I wrote all day, but I loved it because I've always loved to write. When I was younger, I actually wrote a novel on a typewriter, legit typewriter. My mom probably has the manuscript somewhere. And so I had fun, and I would just belt out these cheap projects, but get good feedback on this platform. So slowly and slowly, I was, acquiring clients that were willing to pay me more. And then the company I now do freelance project management for is one of those companies I had found. They paid reasonable rates for back then. And so I started working for them and some others and full time. And before I knew it, I was making a really good income. I had, 6 to 7 steady clients. And then the nice thing is anytime I needed a little extra money, I could go on the platform, pick up like a one-time job, and just do it for filler work. And because I had such high reviews and a long work history on those platforms, clients would pick my bids over others. And so, yeah, I just kept with it. But then I hit that wall of I was getting burned out on writing because writing, again, was a hobby. I enjoy writing. I love content. I love writing blogs. I love researching, learning new things. I had a client I did a lot of legal writing for, and it was really fun. I almost felt like a law student by the end of it. They paid me incredibly well, but I was just getting burned out on it because, again, I was no longer writing for fun. I was writing for income. I had deadlines, but I still could set my own hours. I was never late though. I'm always early with my work. It's a big thing online. If you want to be successful, don't be lazy. So, but yeah, I felt like a writing robot eventually, and I was hitting burnout mode because I seriously did the freelance writing for 8 years. Well, 6-ish years. Yeah, 6 years. Sorry, trying to think of my timeline and how that went. And that's when I reached out to the one client and said, hey, do you have any positions that aren't writing? Because I don't think I can write anymore. I'm losing my mind. And surprisingly enough, she said, you know what? I actually do. And she hired me to take over her project management. So I do all the behind the scenes things, and because I enjoy, like, I absolutely love project management. I think I was like built for it or something because I'm so organized and just, I don't know, like I can plan things ahead. I'm a planner. It makes the job easier for me. And I have now been doing that almost 2 years. And they just have me on a contracted rate. I get paid on that, but I'm still a freelancer. I can do other freelance work. And, you know, I do from time to time, but not anymore. I've been so slammed. I'm so busy there. And I'm enjoying my job, though, because it's not any of my hobbies becoming my job. Like, so I am finally free of shoving a hobby into the workspace, because after I work, I can go do my hobbies. I can go color. I have been thinking about going back to writing. Before I burned out on writing, I was actually working on a novel. In fact, one second. I have a manuscript. Trying not to hit the camera, but this is my old manuscript of a novel that I had actually started quite a few years ago, and I haven't finished it yet. I found it while unpacking in this new house, and I don't even recognize my own writing. That's awful, huh? But I recognize the story and all that. So yeah, I'm kind of like, now that I'm so far away from writing and it's no longer my job, I'm actually thinking of working on it again. I'll probably wait till the kids are in school though, so I can have some free moments, because even back then, I mean, you get into this writing groove and there's nothing worse than, Mom, can I have a snack? It's like, ah. And then you sit back down and you're like, what was I saying? So probably once the kids are in school, I was thinking I would devote like an hour or two a day to working on my novel. It's pretty much almost done, actually. I just need to go back, fix some things, rework some things. Who knows, I might scrap it and start over. I need to read it. I started making tabs the other night so I could like kind of scan it and go through again. But it's not my job anymore to write, so I'm not burned out by the time I go to work on that. Same thing with my YouTube. I started it for fun. Am I making money off my YouTube? Yeah. I'm not making a living though, by the way. Yeah, I maybe could cover 1 week's of groceries, maybe. And that's a big fat maybe, because prices for groceries are not exactly going down. But this is not going to be my job. I'm not going to turn this into a job or a business. This is my hobby. I'm sharing the love with you guys. And the only reason I ever say, hey, you know, watch the ads, support my channel, is not because I'm trying to make a living. It's just coloring supplies are expensive and I could use the little extra to pay for them. That's really the only thing. Okay, so we've spoke about the 30 minutes of how I got to where I'm at now. So it was a whole 12 and a half year adventure that got me here. So let's now talk about some tips that I can give you. Now, I'm going to keep it real because I have worked from home for myself, not for some company. I've been self-employed. So I'm going to give you some real life tips. You might not like them because I'm not going to sugarcoat them. But honestly, I think my advice will probably open your eyes to one, whether you can even handle working from home for yourself, and two, just help set you up realistically so you're not diving in thinking, oh, I'm going to make like $5,000 a month in a week. It's not going to happen. I'm just telling you that part right now. Spoiler alert. Okay. So I've explained to you guys how I got into this. Now, keep in mind, I started years ago, but the first thing you have to decide is, are you serious about working from home? I need Shiraz 600. So you have to ask yourself how serious you are and the risks you're willing to take. Like I said, I was a single mom and I took the plunge. I do not recommend that though, okay? Remember, self-employed means no insurance. There's nobody paying for your insurance. You don't have any. The only reason, like, I kept my son on the state insurance, and the only reason I ever actually ended up getting insurance was when I got married. So I want to put that out right now. If you have kids, you would have to be paying private insurance for them, and either decide to pay private insurance for yourself or not. Of course, now there's the whole, Affordable Health Care Act. That wasn't around 12 years ago for me to deal with. So the rules have changed on that as well. But you have to decide how serious you are. Are you going to plunge right into it and hope for the best? Do you want to kind of like cut back your hours at your real job and dabble in the freelance? Are you going to start a business like I did with the cakes? If you are, you need to, before you quit anything, or if you don't have a job right now, you need to start researching the costs. You can't just start a business for free. You can't just be like, here I am now. Every state has its own requirements. Every county has its own requirements, and every city has its own requirements. Example, you need to be licensed with your state. I'm pretty sure that's across the board all around. I'm not any lawyer or CPA though, so don't take my word for it. Look it up on your state website. But most likely you're going to have to register your business and you'll have to pay that fee. It's not usually a lot of money though. And then you'll have to reserve your business name. And that, of course, gets into the whole what kind of business structure you're going to get into, be, and I'm not getting into that. That's on you to research and decide. The next thing is, like I said, so for mine, I have my business license with the state, but I also have to pay for a work from home permit. That means my home being used for my business. Now, I have a business license, and I always have, because I want to separate my business from my personal. I do recommend doing that. Again, I'm not an attorney. You can always consult one. The only reason I do that is because if for some reason, because we live in a very litigious society, some reason I get sued, it is not going to fall on my personal financial responsibility. So I did create a business. I have a business license. I am an LLC, and I run it that way. I have to file my taxes for my business, separate from my personal taxes. I have to keep business records, business finances, all that. That's just how it works. So you kind of have to decide also how you're going to structure yourself. And again, that kind of plays into how serious are you about this and what are you going to do. The other reason I had chose to do that is because if you're a freelancer but you don't have a business license, you don't have the same number of tax write-offs. Again, please consult a CPA because every state is different. And also the IRS rules don't apply universally. It's all about how you're set up. So yeah, do your research, decide what you want to do. My next thing is you do need to be knowledgeable and like what you pick to do from home. But if you want my honest advice, do not pick something that's a hobby, something that you love, something that you use to relax. Don't do that. I mean, there's lots of people that have, enjoyed using their hobby as their income, but most of the self-employed friends I have hit the same problem I did. They tried turning their passion into a business, and they ended up hating that passion because it became work. I mean, so just really think on that. What is it you want to do? Now, if you want to do like freelance work, say you want to do, for example, content writing. This is an area I'm extremely well versed in, whereas other things not as much. But I would get on those platforms that kind of offer you the opportunity to start, dabbling in content writing. For example, you can pick up those cheap jobs, see how you do, and if you like it. And then you can start looking for content writing agencies like the one I work for. No, you cannot come and apply. But we're kind of full at the moment. But you can start looking for those big agencies and see if they hire, but you need a portfolio first. Don't just go diving in and, think that you're ready to go. If you're into writing or content writing, a few other tips I could tell you right now is there's a difference between great writing in school and great writing for the web. Most of the time, if you're an excellent school writer, like you got great grades in English and creative writing, you actually will find that you're not, or you struggle a lot with content writing because they're two different beasts. That doesn't mean you can't succeed in it. It's just you need to read up on the latest content marketing trends and not think of this as your English paper. So if I can just put that out there. Okay, no matter what you get into, whether it's freelance, maybe even get a work from home job for a real company, like you do call center work from home, they still hire for those and they're legit. I would definitely make sure you're not accidentally signing up for a scam though. The biggest thing I can't emphasize enough is time management. If you don't have the natural drive to push yourself to complete deadlines, say you wait last minute to do your paperwork, or you don't have a quiet workspace, or your day-to-day schedule with the kids is very chaotic, you need to think, how can you actually fit work into that? Because I've had so many friends who really want to work from home, but when it came down to actually getting the work done, they couldn't do it because they actually didn't have the time to do the work, or they weren't self-motivated, because not everyone is built to work from home. I know we all want to because it's like the dream, right? You wake up, you're in your PJs, you walk over to your desk and get on with life. And I'll have a spoiler for you on that. Sometimes I actually wish I didn't work from home because it's really hard when your workplace and your home place are the same place. You need things clean, you need things quiet. You can't really separate home from work. Even if you have an office, it just can't be done. There's kids asking for snacks. There's people playing in your house. It's something you have to learn to manage and see if you could even manage it successfully. But I also have a lot of friends who, like, during COVID, their companies had them work from home and they hated it because they need that structure. They needed to show up, 9 to 5 and have someone kind of hold them accountable. And it wasn't because they're irresponsible. It's just they knew they didn't have that motivation because at home they were in home mode. They couldn't get into work mode. So you kind of have to ask yourself if you're able to do that, because you really have to be a self-starter to work from home. Definitely have a dedicated workspace. If you get into any sort of gig work, meaning whether you're graphic design, content writing, whatever, and you have project deadlines, you need to meet those deadlines. There is nothing more detrimental to your profile, your work history, your work future than not submitting something on time. Let's find this pencil real quick. Maybe. Like, I can tell you right now, when freelancers just kind of like blow me off or don't get their stuff in on time, we don't use them anymore because we have clients, that we have to answer to. So being on time, delivering things by your deadline are a must. And that's in anything. Like, I've hired people to make logos for me and, for my businesses, and redesign things for me. And if they don't do it on time, not only do I fire them, but I never use them again because I needed that logo on time for a reason. Like when I was designing a website for my cakes, I kind of needed it so my designer could help me finish everything. So being on time is critical. Like, you have to have excellent time management. And when you're working from home and say you got kids at home, that becomes a lot more difficult than one might think. I know a lot of us had practice, with COVID because things shut down. A lot of people got to work from home and get a taste of it. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. I had quite a few neighbors at the time that were like, I don't know how you've worked from home all these years. I hate it. Like, I can't handle it. And they still had to send their kids to daycare because they just couldn't manage with the kids at home. And I totally get that, because if you're not used to it, it can be really rough to just dive right into it. Luckily, I only had one kid when I first started working from home, and then as I had more kids, I just adapted. I couldn't imagine having like 5 kids and being thrown into the deep end on being like, all right, now I gotta work from home. Whee! But again, I've been doing this for over 12 years, so I'm a little bit more ready to go. So yeah, punctuality, professionalism, not biting off more than you can chew, all very important. Like, don't take a job if you can't really deliver what you say you're going to deliver. And that's with anything, even cake decorating. I never, promised a cake that I couldn't actually make, or a weird flavor someone wanted that I couldn't do, or at least do to my best of my ability. Because there's nothing worse than a bad review, and we know how easily it is to get bad reviews in the internet age. So, extra caution there. I get bad or had bad reviews on my cake stuff just because one person didn't like one minor thing. And you never get good reviews because people who are happy don't ever seem to find a reason to go give you praise, but the angry ones do. So I always take reviews with a grain of salt, just because being in the industry, I know how often it's just people lashing out for the wrong reason. But yeah, I could talk about this for hours, literally. So what I want to do from here is, if you have questions about working from home, where you could get started, anything like that, ask away. If you're uncomfortable asking and me answering on camera, you can always email me. My email address is in my bio here on YouTube. I try to get back to people the same day. So you can email your questions as well. And, we can chat about it. I can't like give you a job or anything, but I can give you some ideas or, help point you in the right direction. But I did have someone, ask me, is your YouTube going to become your next business? Because, oh gosh, I guess now, if you count it, I have officially started 4 businesses. Yeah. I've had 4 businesses total since working for myself. My YouTube is run through my copywriting agency that I own as part of my business because it is content. However, I'm not going to make my channel a business. It's funny, I was talking about this with another colorist the other day. I find coloring to be relaxing, and I have, there's the channels out there that are businessy, like you get the business vibe. Not that they have bad content. They're like really talented, awesome colorists. It's just you get the business vibe. Like you can tell this is their life, and that's great. I have zero intention of doing that because, as I've said before, I have already like pretty much killed 2 of my favorite hobbies by turning them into businesses. Not doing that again. I mean, you make that same mistake 3 times, goodness gracious. So this is not my business. This is going to be my hobby for sure. That, if it grows into something, great, but I am not setting myself a schedule. I'm not killing myself following up on social media, as I'm sure you guys have noticed, because I like sometimes take 3 days to find a comment, or in one case, 4 weeks. I went through some old Instagram comments. I'm missing a water brush. And I have no clue where it went. Guess we'll stick with a little one. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I was going through an Instagram and I found like comments, and I go to reply and then I look at the date and it says 16 weeks. So I was like, oops. I still replied though, 16 weeks later. So yeah, obviously I'm not running this like a business, because if this was a business, I definitely would not have taken 16 weeks to respond to you all. I am getting better about being on Facebook and such, and that is more just because of the community aspect. I have a lot of fun chatting with you guys, interacting with you guys. You all are so fun to chat along with. Other colorists as well are so fun. It's my group of friends that all have our quirky little adult coloring hobby, because some people think of it as like a child's art. And I'm like, okay, well, it's still a hobby, and those of us who do it look at it differently. So it's nice to be among like-minded people. But it's also awesome to just interact with you guys who subscribe to me. So that's why I started getting a little more active lately on social media. I felt like I was kind of ignoring that. So you may notice that I post more on Facebook, and definitely join my Facebook group. That's probably the best. You guys can like post finished pictures. If you do any of my color alongs or tutorials, totally put them there. I love to see those. You can also tag me on Instagram, and hopefully I see it. Oh my gosh, not 16 weeks later. That was so embarrassing. I'm so sorry. I can't remember who it was I replied to either, but I was just like, oh, how awful. But yeah, join my Facebook group. It is linked in the description below now. Hang out with us. It does require pre-approval just because I don't want spammers. I approved someone the other day and then they spammed. I was like, oh, goodness. But it's fun to hang out. You can share whatever you've colored. It doesn't have to be a color along with me, by the way. But yeah, you can come hang out with me there. And again, I'm doing that for the social aspect, not the business aspect. I do have my affiliate links through Amazon, and then of course the ads that I get here from YouTube, but those just go right back into my channel. They're not supporting me or anything like that, because again, this isn't my business. This is my fun, happy place. And that is how it's gonna stay. I'm not doing anything else with it. I think we need to add some fun. Ooh, we could do some sparkle. I need to use up these jelly rolls. So on top of like a wax-based pencil, straight up Arteza all the way. But I need to use my jelly rolls, and jelly rolls work great on top of Inktense. So does the Signo, so don't worry, Signo, you get attention too. But yeah, you guys are more than welcome to join my Facebook group. Come hang out, come chat, show me what you're coloring. Like I said, I love the community aspect of coloring, and that is one big reason it will never ever become a business for me, because I don't want this to become a job. I want to color for fun and relax and not be like, oh, I gotta record and stay on this schedule, which is why sometimes I just don't, post a video. I try to keep it regular for you guys, but on occasion life happens. But I don't stress about it, because I'm like, it's not a business. It's my fun coloring space. Get to chat with you guys, hopefully teach you something in the process, and just have some fun. But yeah, so hopefully that helped answer the question about how I work from home. It was a very long-winded answer, but I kind of had to give you the background to make it realistic, because I'm going to tell you, it's really hard to land an at-home job, especially now with companies. Oh, this one's too thin. Especially now with companies, opening their doors and not doing remote. You're not going to see as many remote jobs out there. You're going to compete with those who wanted to stay remote. So just keep that in mind. But keep looking. But don't ever, if it seems too good to be true, then it probably is. Like, you see those signs, make $5,000 a month, work 2 hours a day. Okay, that's straight BS. It cannot be done. I make good money, but I also work 12 to 15 hours a day. So, and I am most definitely not just working 2 hours and making a ton of money. So you've got to avoid the scams, and it's easy enough. If it sounds too good to be true, walk away. Don't touch that one. Look for something that looks realistic, You may catch some companies local that are hiring people to work from home. There's others that will require you to work in office for a few weeks for training, and then you can work from home. So there's always those. Nice thing about COVID is a lot of companies did realize that they could operate remotely. So there are a lot more remote jobs out there. It's just you're going to have a lot of competition, because there's a lot of people who, maybe still have their kids schooling from home, or who knows, but they've realized, hey, I want to stay at home. So you are going to be competing against all of those people, so keep that in mind. But just stick with it. Maybe you'll be able to snag a job. And then, like I said, you can always email me with questions, or leave a follow-up question in the comments below, and I can go, discuss it a little more. I can't help you with every industry. I can really only help you with the ones that I've done myself, or that I have a little bit of experience in. But yeah, I'm more than happy to kind of share some insight and tips and tricks. Sorry, I can't write your resume for you. You can do that yourself. But hopefully that answered the question. And like I said, I just had to give a backstory because the job I have now is not one that I would have landed right away had I not already had that long history, not only with that client of mine, but just in general. I had a long history. I've been in the content writing world for quite a while, so my name is actually recognized. My pen name, not my real name. um, and one day when I do publish my novel, you all will find out what my pen name is. So, because I am not publishing under my real name. And, you know, if you know much about almost any author out there, rarely is that the real name. So, just FYI, it's not uncommon. But yeah, I think that will do it for now. I feel like I rambled on quite a bit, so I'm sorry, Emily, if my answer was too long-winded. I saw the question and I was like, oh, I could totally answer this in 10 minutes, or I could give some background and take a while. But I think I'm gonna just keep playing with this. It's pretty much done. I went super simple with this. One color and just kind of spread it out. And I'm not gonna layer it. This was just kind of a fun, relaxed piece because it has been crazy busy with baseball and softball. But I thought it would be fun to finish this one up and start on something new. I have no clue what. I'll probably start filming this here soon. Probably should get on that. But thanks, guys, for hanging out for another WIP Wednesday. Again, you can leave your questions in the comments below. It doesn't have to just be on today's topic. It can be on literally anything, and I'll answer it in next week's video. And then, like I said, feel free to email me if it's something you don't want to ask in the comments. But until next time, take care.